Hey everyone, Marissa here and welcome back to another video. Today I thought we could do a Q1 roundup. If you've never seen a roundup video from me before, I used to make these monthly back in the day and they are essentially my replacement for a wrap-up video because instead of just talking about books and reading, I get to talk about kind of everything and whatever I want. So for today's roundup, we're gonna start off with the content that I was making in Q1. We're gonna talk through some goal updates, reading and life-wise, and then we're gonna get into the best part of the video, my quarterly favorites. I should say if I seem a little like amped today or a little bit like I'm motor mouthing my way through this, I am actually on a time crunch. So starting off with the content that I made in Q1 of 2025, I made two videos, the first of which was a December wrap-up and 2025 reading goal video. Technically, I did also talk about like channel goals for the year in that video as well, but we will talk about those when we get to the goal section. The second video I made in Q1 and my favorite video of the quarter was a video on how I am tracking my reading in 2025. Now, this was my favorite video to make because it basically allowed me to nerd out and like go in depth on tracking and organizational systems, which are just something I love quite a bit and actually genuinely put time into creating in my free time. So it was a lot of fun to get to share those with you. I'm not great at like screen cap video stuff. I just do not have like a professional setup at all. I'm literally still filming on my phone and editing in iMovie, guys. Like this is not a very sophisticated setup here. I will say that a trend for Q1 was that all of my videos were too long. So each one of those videos, those two videos I made were over 20 minutes long. And I had like an hour-ish of footage for each video. Hence, we're on a time crunch today because I cannot do that to myself. The editing takes too long, and if I am going to try and stick to like a regular video schedule, I cannot make myself sit through an hour of me rambling. I'm not gonna promise that there won't be more 20-minute long videos because there could be. I'm a chatty gal, but I went back and was watching some of my old content from when I was doing this more consistently, and I was like around the like 10 to 12 minute mark most of the time, even when I was doing like big anime breakdowns. And I'm like, we gotta get back to that. Figure out how I was doing that again. I also think this is a fantastic place to transition into the goals section because one of my goals for 2025 video-wise was to make one video a month or 12 videos for the year. Now, obviously I did already miss March, which was a shame. And honestly, I don't know what happened. The month just completely got away from me. By the time I realized I had not filmed a video, it was like literally the night of March 30th. And I thought, well, that's not gonna happen. I will just double up one of these months to catch up. And I'm gonna try really hard not to fall behind again because while I think one video catch up is totally doable, I don't wanna start to like, I don't know, lap myself, put more rocks on my head, that sort of thing. Reading wise, my goal is to read 24 books for the year or 2 books a month. And in Q1, I only finished 3 books and they may have all been manga. So not doing the most for that reading goal, am I? The 3 manga volumes I did finish were volumes 1 through 3 of the Elusive Samurai series by Yusei Matsui, which is a manga I've actually read before, but I read it in serialized form when it was first getting released by Viz. I genuinely don't know like what volume I got up to, so I just thought I would start at the beginning and go through what is now currently available in English. The Elusive Samurai is, surprise, surprise, set in historical Japan. It follows a young boy who basically is the sole remaining heir of, were they a shogunate? I'm not entirely sure. He was the sole remaining heir of of the ruling family, the Hojo clan. His name is Takayuki. He is like, I think 8 when the series starts, and potentially 10 by the time it like reaches its climax. And basically we follow his adventures to grow his skills, to gain strength, to gain an army and loyal retainers so that he can avenge and restore his clan. Like I said, I'm already familiar enough with the story because I read quite a few chapters when it was serialized, and then I did watch the entire first season of the anime adaptation, which came out last year. What I will say is that although the anime is beautiful, I feel like they really smushed the story down. So if you like the story in the anime, if you've seen, say, a trailer and you're interested, I would highly recommend the series because although it is kid focused because it's like set around the kids. It's still got really gory action. It's still very intense, and it's got found family vibes, which is always my favorite. I just finished volume 4 like 2 days ago, and I'm currently in the middle of volume 5. So definitely this is going to be like the first manga series that I finished for the year. I think there are currently 14 available in English, and maybe volume 15 is coming out in May sometime. So I will carry on, persevere as the year continues. Like I said, I only finished those 3 books, but I did listen to like 137.2 hours, I believe, of audiobooks. So it's not like I'm not reading, I'm just not finishing things because what I picked to read on audio is quite long. I am still listening to Alexander Hamilton. I believe I have 6 to 8 hours left, and I have to say I'm still thoroughly enjoying it. The other audiobook that I am listening to is kind of in the self-help personal development vein, if you will, and that is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Sethi? I think I said that wrong. Apologies. I don't necessarily read a lot of like personal development or self-help stuff, and I definitely don't read like any finance books, though I don't have anything against it necessarily. But what I have found over the last like year or so is that I find body doubling to be incredibly helpful, i.e. like having a video on of somebody doing the thing that you're doing, or having somebody like clean alongside you, that sort of thing. This is kind of like my content-based body doubling, if you will. So I was listening to this book essentially while I was like doing year-end expenses and prepping my taxes. So I still have, I think maybe like 2 hours left on this, and I have March expenses to do still. So I will be probably finishing that up this week. And then I guess since we're talking about the books that I am currently reading, I might as well mention that I'm also in the middle of another kind of self-help-ish book, which is Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics by Dan Harris and Jeff Warren with Carly Adler. Now, I have used Dan Harris's meditations, guided meditations, for 5+ years now, I think, on and off, and I personally quite like his approach. He is a former news anchor turned meditation, I wouldn't say guru, meditation evangelist, shall we say. And what I like about his practice is that it's very much based on the fact that we are not going to be perfect, but that we should try, and that it can really help all of us out in our daily lives. Like, you don't have to become a monk in the woods in order to get the benefits of meditation. So I quite like his approach. I have attempted to read this book before and just like kind of lost interest. So I am officially halfway through, I believe, and reading this along with the meditations in the 10% Happier app, which you can get for free if you have the book. So really enjoying this and looking forward to continuing to up my meditation practice. I'm a little spotty at the moment, but I do find it very helpful for general stress relief and like overall body relaxation, which I'm really trying to work on this year. And then there were just a few like personal goal updates I wanted to give you, though I didn't really share my personal goals for the year because, quite frankly, there were a lot of them and it's really none of your business. But there are a few that I thought would be interesting to share just in the context of like what we talk about here on the channel. So one of my goals for the year was to get back into a regular walking routine, because walking is something I used to do all of the time, especially during the pandemonium. I found that very helpful for mental health, physical well-being, general stress, etc. And then once I moved into this apartment, I kind of sort of fell off the bandwagon. In the past, I've always been either near a park or I've been someplace a little bit more off the beaten path, and I didn't have to like worry about cars and other pedestrians quite so much. So I'm doing a little bit more driving to parks right now to do my walks, but I am getting back into a consistent routine, and I have to say it feels very, very good. Plus, I have to say this is really helping with the audiobook listening, because sometimes I listen to music. I like to listen to like classical or soundtrack music, honestly, while I walk, but a lot of the time I'm listening to my audiobooks. So I think I have listened to most of Alexander Hamilton either like cleaning my apartment or walking. So it's a good, I guess, habit stacking routine. Another goal that I had for the year was to just create more for myself, like create things without the pressure of needing to share them with anyone. So at the moment, I am still writing a ton. I think I talked about this a little bit last year, but I am rewriting a Naruto fanfic. This is gonna sound crazy. Okay. This is my safe space, right? We can talk about this without judging me too hard. I am rewriting a Naruto fanfic that I first drafted, get this straight, in 2015 as like a very angsty law school student and updating it and like world building around it, and I'm having so much fun because I don't think anybody else is ever gonna see it. And genuinely, I come home in the evenings and I'm like, ooh, I had an idea. Let me write this down. And what I'm finding very interesting is that what I used to do was go on these like writing bursts, okay? I would get like a burst of inspiration and I would just write like a fiend for 2 months, say, and then I would not write for 9, you know? But now, because I actually have set like goals for what I want to finish this year, like how many chapters, how many plot points I want to get through this year, I'm actually forcing myself to, not daily, because it doesn't happen every day, but at least several times a week, sit down and like write, whether I'm feeling uber inspired or not. I never thought I would be able to get there. Like I always thought I was going to be one of those people that needed the spark moment to get myself to write. But genuinely, I'm actually learning that writing and being creative is more of a muscle that you have to use. Otherwise, you lose it. You know what I mean? So it's been a fascinating experiment. I'm having literally so much fun. Should I go outside and talk to more real people? Probably. There are other creative things I want to do this year too, but this is the one I've been prioritizing a ton. Then of course, my ongoing goal is to get off my phone, stop scrolling so much, reduce the screen time, etc. Obviously, like writing is on my computer, so I'm not necessarily counting that towards screen time. I'm really just trying to like divorce myself from my phone a little. But in Q1, I was actually mostly successful, mostly because I was like really, really busy. It was really feeling like I could tell when I was scrolling because I was just trying to turn my brain off, but it wasn't really working because scrolling's just kind of like bombarding you with other people's words and thoughts and opinions. I did give up TikTok for Lent, and I have to say that was like actually shockingly easy. I am definitely scrolling Instagram a tiny bit more, but I only do it like once a day. I'm not necessarily inclined to keep checking in throughout the day, you know what I mean? Today is Easter. Technically, I'm not banned from TikTok anymore, so we'll see how I dip back into it, because at this point, I'm starting to think that there is no way for me to use it casually. So maybe I just have to finally take the leap and delete it from my phone. Okay, so now we have reached the favorites, and I'm gonna try and go quick because we have actually already surpassed the amount of time I had allotted myself for this video. Quarter 1 was like a music quarter. It was such a good quarter for music for me, mainly because One OK Rock came out with new music. They have a new album. It's been like 2 years. One OK Rock is a Japanese rock band. I would classify them as kind of pop punk, kind of alternative, because they kind of do a mix of both. They do sing in a lot of English right now. Like they started off primarily in Japanese, started sprinkling in English, and now it's like English songs with Japanese versions. They came out with a new album in, I want to say February, called Detox, and the whole album, you guys, is just actually so good. I think I've already listened to the album like at least 30 times. My whole Spotify Wrapped is going to be literally the same as last year. Naruto music, One OK Rock. Oh, and Studio Ghibli. I think my #1 favorite song is Tiny Pieces. I have never experienced heartbreak, but I feel like this song is what heartbreak feels like. I also really like Puppets Can't Control You. Dystopia is really good. And if I'm gonna cut myself off, Matter. But genuinely, the whole album is just good. And then, as I already alluded to, I've been listening to like all of the Naruto soundtracks in Q1 a ton. I don't think that's gonna change in Q2 because, again, I'm writing Naruto fanfiction. And sometimes when you're writing a fight scene, you just need the sounds of the actual show while you're writing your fight scene. I also mentioned that I've been listening to a lot of Studio Ghibli, and that's because I've really been leaning into like instrumental music this year. In hopes of detoxing my brain slightly. I feel like last year I consumed a lot of other people's hot takes and a lot of other opinions via podcast and constant news streaming. And I'm trying to not turn off the news altogether, but I'm trying to like cut some of the brain noise, if that makes any sense. So I've been leaning a lot into instrumentals and Studio Ghibli specifically when I'm at work and I'm like on a deadline, because it's just great focus music. I do have a few Studio Ghibli soundtracks that are like my go-to soundtracks, i.e. Kiki, Princess Mononoke. But in Q1, I found myself constantly reaching for the Castle in the Sky soundtrack, which is something I've listened to before, but not something I'd listened to quite as much. And after listening to it basically on repeat for a whole quarter, I feel like very qualified to say that this is an underrated soundtrack. Try it out. It's actually fantastic. To wrap up the media I enjoyed in Q1, there is, I apologize, one more Naruto themed item. Though technically there will also be a Naruto themed thing in Q2, but that's okay. We'll get to that at that point. The last media item I wanted to talk about as a favorite for Q1 was Rock Lee and his ninja pals. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's what the spinoff is called. It's like a chibi Naruto spinoff. I've known about this show for a while, and finally in February, when I just really was feeling like I needed something like light and funny and brain off ish, I decided to dive into the show, and I have to say it's so cute. It's very fan servicey, I should say. So if you are, you know, not into on the nose, over the top, kind of cringe humor, you're probably not gonna like this, but genuinely, this was so much fun, and this was exactly what I needed in February, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I also have to say that having no real opinion whatsoever on Lee, when I went into the show, I still don't really have an opinion on him. He's a little annoying in his spinoff in a way that he's not in the actual show, but the spinoff did make me feel very protective over Tenten and Neji. So yeah, that was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And then while we're talking about anime, I might as well talk about cute things that I bought myself to, again, make myself feel something. One of the greatest things about being an adult who has not lost their old interests is that I now have adult money to spend on things. So I did get 2 Funkos. Obviously I got a Kakashi. Kakashi sits on my desk every day and he tells me to do my best, and he's a very great writing partner. The other one I got, I literally, this is what I went on the website to get because I love Inuyasha. Can you tell how old I am? I feel like you can definitely tell how old I am based on the shows I keep talking about. But I love Inuyasha, and I never ever see Moroku figures anywhere. So I did get a Moroku Funko. You might have already seen him. He's like living back there normally on my bookshelf. What is adult money for if not making your inner child happy? Next up, I have a few like techie items I wanted to mention, and I am gonna have to look at my notes for this one because the Sony names are long. But these are my noise canceling headphones. These are a Sony WHCT 20N Bluetooth noise canceling headphone. They go on like so. I got these again in December for myself because, well, a couple reasons. One, I like to be a conscientious neighbor, and when I'm watching anime with my windows open at like 10:30 at night, my neighbors don't need to hear Naruto yelling like Rasengan or anything like that. So I wanted to get noise canceling headphones for that, but then once I had them, I realized all of the benefits, i.e. I can watch things while washing dishes and still hear. I can run the dishwasher or the stove fan and still hear. So yeah, lots of many great uses for this. And I'm definitely going to be using these. Like I'm already using them basically every day, but I'm definitely going to be using these in the summer when my windows are open basically 24/7. The other tech item I am so very excited about is my new child. Say hello. This is the Ippo Maker Aula 99 mechanical keyboard, and I am not kidding when I say this is the last mechanical keyboard I will ever need. I actually don't remember what switches I got, so I'll try and figure that out, and I can put that in the description box below in case you like how this sounds, but right? I only just dabble in keyboards, you know, I'm not like a real keyboard head or anything like that, but I have been in the market for a thockier keyboard for a while now, and in December I finally decided to bite the bullet and pick this one up based off of like all of the TikTok and YouTube reviews I could find. It's honestly so comfortable to type on. It's got both Bluetooth wired and a dongle if you wanted to do wireless, but you can't do Bluetooth. And then most importantly for me, because I have a Mac for personal use and then a PC for work, it has a very easy like hotkey switching for the different operating systems. So it is seamless in a way that my Keychron never was. It sounds better, and it's actually like genuinely really hefty. So I think it's very well made, and I honestly don't know that I'm ever gonna need another one. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about very quickly was an anti-favorite, which I don't know that I'm gonna have every quarter, but this was very relevant to Q1, so I wanted to mention this. My anti-favorite for Q1 2025 was the OpenAI Studio Ghibli image generation tool. Now, if you have followed the channel at all, you know that I have spent a lot of time here discussing anime, discussing Studio Ghibli in particular, and specifically discussing Hayao Miyazaki's philosophies on technology, art, life, like creative struggles, etc. I've also watched every Miyazaki documentary I could ever get my hands on, and I am intimately aware of his own feelings specifically about AI art generation, which is that it is an insult to life itself. It does not know human emotion. It does not know what love is. It does not know what pain is. And therefore it cannot create great art because it cannot experience those things that art can make us feel. I was going to make an entire video on how much I hate this filter, but then I realized that was unnecessary because so many other people have made great content around this. I will say that I do think it was kind of nice to see AI fly a little bit too close to the sun, because they have been scraping from small creators, smaller artists who don't have the power of a full studio and the reputation and the Academy Awards like Miyazaki does, that it's kind of nice to see OpenAI take on someone that big and realize that, yeah, I think we AI'd too hard. I think we need to pull back before they start, you know, filing lawsuits and things like that. So that was kind of fulfilling to see. I specifically hated that the first 2 images I saw were Miyazaki as AI himself, and then that like one meme that will never, ever, ever go away. All right, so that was my Q1 roundup. Hopefully I can cut this down to under 20 minutes. But if you have any updates you'd like to share, whether those are personal goals, reading goals, or things that you really liked in Q1, please leave me a comment down below. I feel like the world these days is much chaotic, very overwhelming. Lots of our brains are going too hard, too fast all the time. And it's nice to just like take a moment and see what's giving joy to other people. So with all that said, thank you so very much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.